Hey there, it's Debbie from Haven Inspired Style. Thank you so much for jumping on this video. I'm really excited about our topic today, which is conquering self-doubt. It's really close and dear to my heart, especially because it's something that I really do struggle with day to day. So I hope that the tips that I share in this video is helpful for you. It's something that I've been working through myself, and it's information that I've gathered just with my own research and stuff that I've gathered with my coach as well, my life coach. So I hope this is all helpful. If you're looking for continuous tips on self-care, or just want to laugh, or just want some more information about just self-help, definitely hit the subscribe button below, and also that little bell next to it for notifications. We're going to dive into this subject, so stay tuned. Okay, so yes, the struggle is 100% real when it comes to conquering self-doubt. It's something that I have struggled with for most of my life, and definitely something that I know that a lot of people around me struggle with as well. And it's so hard to sometimes even realize that you're doubting yourself. I know that kind of sounds like weird, but as I go through like some of these tips, like you'll see like there's some instances where you don't even notice that you're actually putting those things out in the atmosphere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about 3 different areas that you should work on or focus on if you're struggling with self-doubt. So the first area is getting to know yourself. Really take the time to spend time alone, spend time with yourself to really learn exactly who you are. If I was to ask you right now, like, who are you? Would you be able to answer it? Most of us can't. A lot of it is more so of, oh, I'm this, is always tied to something. So I'm a mother, or I, am a recruiter. I work in recruiting. So like, it's always like tied to either a job or another person, but really just take the time to get to know yourself. Be comfortable with being alone. And that's something that I struggled with too. Like, it was just a matter of like, I always had to have someone around me. When I go through things, like, I just gravitate towards people instead of dealing with what's happening internally. So definitely take the time to spend time with yourself. It wasn't until like I was actually forced to be alone is when I actually was able to take the time to like really examine who I am, who I want to be, where my shortcomings are, and how I'm going to, resolve those things. So instead of getting into an instance where you're forced to be alone, where it's probably a little bit harder than it would be if you were to do it on your own. And then in those times when you're alone, take the time to journal. Ask those questions. Who am I? Who do I want to be? Identify your strengths and your weaknesses. Really write those down, because you don't want to necessarily harp on, the things that you're not too good at, the things that you're really weak in. So identify your strengths and weaknesses. This also kind of goes back to your values and what you value. I talked about that in my video, my self-care video, so definitely go back and review that video if you're not quite sure when it comes to the values, like how you're able to pick those out. Meditation and mindfulness is also another way to spend time alone. Just being present in the moment without judgment. There's so many different apps out there that helps with meditation, mindfulness. I use Calm. There's actually a mindfulness app as well, so utilizing that. And I feel like there's one other one. I try to meditate every day. I'm not going to lie and say that I do. But definitely taking the time out to meditate, especially on the things that, we talked about when it comes to your values and identifying your strengths and that identifying your weaknesses, and definitely just getting to know who you are in general. So the next area is practicing self-compassion, which is hard. Like, if you are someone that struggles with just self-doubt in general, you're most likely going to be someone that's going to struggle with self-compassion or just giving yourself grace in the moments that are just really tough and hard for you. So, practicing self compassion really starts with acceptance. And when I say acceptance, it's more so of, acceptance of yourself for one. So you've already talked about, spending time with yourself, getting to know yourself and who you are as a person in general. But when it comes to this self-compassion, is accepting who that person is. Because when you go through the process of figuring out who you are and really digging into that, there's going to be some things that you're going to come across that you're not going to like. And figuring out who you are and really like spelling that out on paper, there's going to be some areas that you're not going to like. Like you're like, oh my gosh, like I hate this about myself. Like this is just not really what I want to be. When it comes to self-compassion, the acceptance portion is accepting all of those areas, the good with the bad, accepting who you are and what you've become. The only way that you're going to be able to change those things that you don't like about yourself is to, one, be able to accept it and to own it. So that's where the acceptance is coming in. Accepting your emotions, accepting your thoughts, accepting the past and what's happened in the past, accepting your present. And then also too, which is I think is really important because it's going to help with just life in general, accepting the people around you for who they are, whether they're good or bad. Accepting the fact that if there's someone that's in your life that's good, accepting that and embracing that. And if it's someone that's in your life that's not so good, accept that's who they are and remove them from your life. I think that will ultimately make sure that your life will be able to stable or balance out when you start accepting the things that you cannot change. And even if it's the things that you cannot change that are very difficult or hard things to accept, once you accept them and let them go, they no longer have any control over your life. So accepting all of those things, accepting that you are imperfect, and then also accepting that the world that we live in is also imperfect. I think people that struggle with self-doubt, including myself, are perfectionists. Like everything has to go the right way. If it doesn't go the right way, like it's the end of the world type thing. So just accepting the fact that you're imperfect, the people around you are imperfect, and the world that we live in is imperfect. Nobody or nothing is perfect at all. And then it's also just realizing that you cannot have control of everything around you. I think that's another thing too. Is like if you're struggling with self-doubt, with self-compassion, a lot of it has to do with what's going on around you as well and trying to control everything. Accept the fact that you cannot control what's happening around you. Accept the fact that you can't control other people, you can't control situations. You can't control any of those things. The only thing that you can control is yourself and your actions, and your reactions to what's happening around you. So that's another part of that acceptance. Most people that struggle there is also very much anxious and worry a lot, which again, it's me. You struggle with worry and anxiety. And when it comes to worry and anxiety, it's normally about things that you can't change. So it's normally about things that's happened in the past, can't change that, or it's things that's going to be coming or happening in the future, something that you predict or you imagined in your head. Once you get through that acceptance phase, provide yourself with support. Support, kindness, and comfort that's really needed to get you through those challenging times or issues. That's where self-care routines come into play. Once you get to this point, that's where the real transformation and growth can happen. Last but not least, when it comes to practicing self-compassion, stop searching for validation. I had say it a couple times. Stop searching for validation. Stop comparing yourself to other people, especially women. Like, stop comparing yourself to other women. That's where a lot of self-doubt comes from us, seeing other women and comparing ourselves, whether it be physically or just where, another woman may be at in her life, her relationships, or just the things that she has, businesses, like all of those things. Stop comparing yourself to other people and searching for that validation from those people, because that's just going to, enhance your self-doubt and knock out your self-compassion. So stop doing that. And then if you make promises to yourself, keep those promises. If you make a promise to yourself that you're going to do these things to help with your growth, to help with your compassion, even if it's you're promising yourself self-care, all of those things, make sure to keep those promises to yourself. That's real self-compassion. And last but not least, learn to trust yourself. And I know this is hard, especially if you really have struggled with self-doubt most of your life. Learn to trust yourself. And trusting yourself starts with being yourself. If you can't 100% be yourself in all situations, whether it be at home, at work, in your relationship, friendships, family, all of those things, it's going to be really hard to trust yourself. So when it comes to trusting yourself, number one, make sure to be yourself. Listen to what your heart is saying. Listen to what your body is telling you. When it comes to your heart, when it comes to your body, I feel like those things never lie. Be decisive. When it comes to not trusting yourself, it's a lot of indecisiveness, whether it be with very small things or very big things. So practice being decisive. Start with those small things, especially if you know for a fact that when you go through your overview of who you are and indecisiveness pops up. If you know that, like, start with some of the small things, like just make a decision, okay? Be decisive. Challenge or be curious about your automatic negative thoughts. I think sometimes when our thoughts come into our mind, we automatically think of those things as fact, and that's not necessarily true. So when you have negative thoughts that pop into your mind about any and everything, challenge that thought. Really take the time to, like, is that true? Is that real? Or is that just me being me again? Definitely challenge those thoughts. The other thing is, make sure to examine your inner circle. When it comes to your inner circle, sometimes that can fuel your self-doubt. So make sure to ask yourself the question, are the people around you extremely genuine, or are they feeding your self-doubt? If you bring something to them, they're like, oh, I want to do this or I want to do that. But like, oh, well, do you really think you can do that? I don't know. Like that type of stuff. Like making sure that your inner circle is strong. Your inner circle supports you. You don't have to share everything with everybody, making sure that if you are, bringing something to someone that you know for a fact that their advice is going to have your best interest at heart. So really examine your inner circle. And then last but not least, speak kindly to yourself. Cut out the negative self-talk. I am so bad at this. I'm like, you know how you're like, you do something, you mess something up, and you're like, in your head, you're like, oh, Debbie, like that was so stupid. Like, why did you do that? Cut that out. That feeds into your self-doubt so much. And I found that is a habit of mine. Like, I do that a lot. And it definitely, saying that out loud or even just saying that in your mind definitely will start to feed that self-doubt. So I hope that all of these tips have helped you. Let me know how they helped in the comments. I'm really excited to see how this is beneficial to others, because again, like I said, it's something that I 100% struggle with, something that I'm still fighting through. Even me starting this channel it took me forever to get this started. So, you know, I definitely can feel where you guys are coming from. Let me know in the comments how you feel about this particular subject. If there's any areas that I didn't cover, if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer those for you. Again, make sure you hit the subscribe button for more videos on self-care and all that jazz. And I will check in with you guys next week. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.